Last time we dealt about differential calculus. This time we'll be dealing about integral calculus. So to explain about integral calculus, we will first relate this to our previous lesson or to our previous course last sem. So suppose we have this graph and this curve which is defined as the graph of the function, let's say f of x. Okay. So during the differential calculus, what we were dealing with are actually the small changes in x or the derivatives. So when we say the derivative, that is the rate of change of the point, diba? From point here to a very close point. Basically, during the differential calculus course natin, what we were dealing were the small changes in the function as x changes, diba? So we could look at it this way as ito yung mga differentials of the function. Okay? And the description of how this point behaves is now the derivative, which is f of x dx, or that is the derivative of our original function f of x. Right? Now, pagdating sa integral calculus, baliktad na. Okay? Sa integral calculus naman, we will start not with the graph, but with the derivatives. Okay, so let me erase this. So sa integral calculus, what we are given are the behavior or the derivatives or the differential equations. For example, this point, we are dealing with a point that behaves this way. So ito siya, the behavior of the point is described by the function f of x. Okay? Then, depending on how what the situation is or how this curve behaves, ang kukunin na natin is the integration of these points. So, meaning kung pag idugtong-dugtungin natin itong mga points that behaves in this manner, then we have now the integral of the point, which is the function. Babalik na tayo sa function. Okay? So, drawing lang natin. So, ganun lang siya. So, sa differential calculus, we started with the function and we examined how the points in the function behaves. And we described that as its derivative. This time, we'll start with the derivative and we integrate these small changes. So, if we integrate these small changes, we will come up with the function or the curve itself. So, parang ganito ba? Let's say humans. So, humans, yeah, it's the integral of its organs, right? So meron tayong organs. Let's start with or the very small unit of each human being. For example, we start with cells. So the integration of these cells are the tissues. The integration of these tissues are the organs. The integration of these organs are the organ systems or the systems. Then the integration of these different systems, that's human, ayan siya. But remember, yung tissues to systems, di ibig sabihin na human pa rin siya, di ba? Pwede din naman cells to tissues to organs to system, then animal pala, hindi human. Okay? So, i-relate natin yan mamaya. So, what I mean is ganito. Not all differential equations, kung integrate natin, results to the same function. Okay? Okay. Parang ganito ba? Suppose we'll have x squared plus 3. And we also have x squared plus 5. Okay? So these are now our functions of x. Okay? Then if we differentiate this, meaning ito na yung function natin, these are the integrals of a certain differentiation. Kung tingnan natin dito, the derivative of this, or f of x dx, or that is the derivative of the function of x, for this, the derivative of this is 2x. The derivative of this is 2x as well. Diba? So parang ganito, yung 2x, let's say, is yung cells, yung sinabi ko kanina, yung cells. Pero pag integrate sa kanya, it could be this. x squared plus 3. The same 2x, kung integrate natin, it could also be this, x squared plus 5. Ibig kong sabihin, this could be, 2x could also be, the integral of 2x could also be x squared plus 9, x squared plus 10, x squared plus 100. So there are many possibilities, diba? So therefore, if we generalize this, we'll have x squared plus c. That is the integral of 2x. Diba? So ganun siya. So yung c now is called the constant of integration. So I'm just cutting short the whole discussion na nasa libro para mas madaling maintindihan. This is now the constant, This is now the constant of integration, or also known as the arbitrary constant. Constant siya, but it's arbitrary. When we say arbitrary, we are not sure of, or it could have any value. It's a constant, but the value could be any value. So it could be 5, 3, 9, 12, 11, whatever. But it's a constant. Yeah, so that's called an arbitrary constant. Okay, now we could say that the process that we did here is anti-differentiation. Diba? So we are actually dealing here with anti-derivatives, meaning we reverse the process. From derivatives, we reverse the process, we take the antiderivatives or antiderivatives, then we get the function. Okay, so we now could define an antiderivative this way. An antiderivative of a function on an interval I is another function f satisfying this, that f prime of x, so ito yung f prime of x, this one is equal to the function itself. If equal to the function, ayan, f prime of x is equal to the function of x. This is now f of x, ito f, is the antiderivative of this function. Okay, so antiderivative of 2x is x squared plus c. Or, kung i-describe na natin siya or define natin siya in terms of integration, we now define the indefinite integral as this. Parang we just restate the antiderivative here. The definite integral, so kanina, describe ko naman ano yung integral. So parang, ano lang, the way we understand what integral is. When we say integral, that is the pagsasama-sama. The integration. When we say indefinite integral, so indefinite muna because that means wala tayong limits pa dito, or hindi defined kung asa siya nag-start, asa siya nag-end. Diba? So hindi pa na-define. For example, ito. If we are dealing with the whole curve, that is indefinite because it extends that way, then extends that way to infinity. So that's indefinite. Pag definite, kung halimbawa yung describe lang natin is the length from here to here, then that's definite. Ito lang. Okay, so yun yung ibig sabihin ng indefinite integral. So the indefinite integral, that is just the restatement of this. If you notice, ito. If you apply the antiderivative here, the result is this function, right? So ito siya. If you apply the antiderivative, or that would be integration. If you apply integration of this function, the result is the function plus a constant of integration c on the interval I, provided that, of course, f prime of x is equal to f of x. So ito yung tatandaan natin. The definition of an indefinite integral is that the integral of f of x dx is equal to f of x plus the constant of integration c. Dito, this is now called the integral sign. That's the integral sign. And this is our integrand, or the function that we are integrating. So that's the integrand. And of course, this is the integral, or the particular integral na to siya, kung may value yung c. So this is now, the result is the integral. And of course, this is the arbitrary constant, or the constant of integration. Okay, so these are the parts of this. So let us now proceed to the properties of indefinite integrals. Okay, so we'll start with the integral, the first property, that is just the integral of dx. So, of course, sobrang dali, the integral of dx is just x plus c. Because we know that the derivative of x is just derivative of x. Ayan, dx. And the derivative is constant. I mean, the derivative of a constant is 0. So, therefore, applying the antiderivative, the integral of dx is just equal to x plus a constant of integration. Meron tayong i-add na integral, na constant na nawala during the process of differentiation. Ayan. But how about if we have integral of a constant a times dx? So that would be equal to, ganun pa rin, same sa properties or similar to the properties sa differentiation, we just isolate or ilabas natin yung a. So that would be a times the integral of dx. Okay? And we know what is the integral of dx, right? So, kung i-expand pa natin yan dito, remember, this would be a times the integral of dx is x plus c. So, we could say that, we could say that this is equal to ax plus ac. But wait, there's more. Remember that c is arbitrary, right? It could have any value, di ba? Pero constant. So if c is arbitrary, then you multiply that with a fixed constant, the result is still arbitrary, right? For example, 3 times an unsure value. Of course, the result is unsure, right? So therefore, eto siya, since c is arbitrary, you multiply that with any other constant, the result is still arbitrary. So therefore, that is still ax plus c. Okay? Even c squared is still c. c times 2 or 2c is still c. Arbitrary pa rin siya. Okay? So therefore, summarize lang natin, the integral of a dx is equal to a integral of dx, which is equal to ax plus c. And then the third property would be if we have the integral of two or more functions, let's say the integral of f of x dx plus another function g of x dx. Okay, so that is just equal to, so the integral of the sum of two functions is just equal to the sum of the integrals. So that would be equal to integral of f of x dx, excuse me po, times the integral of g of x dx. Yeah, of course, if we get the integral of this and the integral of this, that would be f of x. Let's say the integral of this is capital F na lang, f of x. So that would be f of x plus arbitrary constant for this integral. So let's say c1 plus the integral of this. Let's say the integral of this is capital G of x plus the constant of integration or arbitrary constant for this integral, let's say c2. So that would be equal to, remember, c1 is arbitrary, c2 is also arbitrary. So if you add c1 and c2, the result is still arbitrary. So therefore, we could generalize this as f of x plus g of x plus an arbitrary constant. Ganun lang siya. Okay, so pwede nating isahin pa rin yung constant c. Ganun lang siya kadali. Then sunod, how about if we have integration of powers? Powers, or the power formula for integration. So let's start our discussion for this with a function u, let u be a function of x. Okay, so let's start with u, it's a function of x. Suppose m is a constant, not arbitrary, but fixed and a constant. Let's say m is a constant. So suppose we have u raised to m. And if we get the derivative of this, the result would be, of course, by, we know how to do this, chain rule lang siya, or the general power rule for derivatives. That would be m multiplied by u raised to m minus 1 times du. Okay? Okay, so if we are taking the derivative with respect to x, that would be over dx over d over dx lang siya dito. So, ganyan na lang muna. Okay? Now, ang gusto natin kukunin kasi is what would be the integral of u. So, we are trying to get the integral of u raised to n du. So, ano yung general power rule natin? Okay, balikan natin to. So, u raised to n yung integral. So, if we start with this, introduce natin yung n as equal to m minus 1. So, ito siya, we'll just replace this with n. So, therefore, what would be the value of m? So, it follows that m is equal to, let's just transpose this to the other side and flip. This is n plus 1. So, therefore, this becomes, eto na, this becomes the derivative of u, okay, raised to m, which is n plus 1, that is equal to m, which is n plus 1, times u raised to m minus 1, which is equal to n du. Now, if we apply antiderivative or integrate both sides, so if we integrate this, of course, na-reverse mo lang yung process ng differentiation. So, parang na-cancel out lang to. Diba? We get the derivative of this, then you apply the antiderivative or the reverse or the integral. So, cancel lang to. Ito na natira. So, that would be u plus n raised to n minus plus 1. That is equal to integrate, of course, integrating both sides. May integral din tayo dito. So, integrate this. Then, eto, this is a constant. So, pwede natin ilabas. So, n plus 1 times the integral of u raised to n du. Oh, okay. Sorry. Kulang. Kasi nag-integrate tayo dito. So, of course, we need the integration constant of integration. So, we'll just add plus c. Okay? So, therefore, ito na yung hinahanap natin. The integral of u raised to n du. Ito yung hinahanap natin for the general power formula. So, that means the integral of u raised to n du is just equal to, unahin natin ganito muna, u raised to n plus 1 plus c over n plus 1. So, ito, I just transpose this to the other side. Dito. I-divide natin siya dyan. Okay? But remember that c is arbitrary. N plus 1 is constant. So, if you divide c, which is arbitrary, by this constant, the result is still arbitrary. So, therefore, we could rewrite our answer as u raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1 plus c. So, this is now the general power formula for the integration of powers. Okay? Okay? Kung the function or u is x, so therefore we say that the integral of x raised to n dx, I just replace u with x raised to n dx. The result is just x raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1, plus c. Plus c. Okay? Sobrang dali. So therefore, kung titingnan natin kanina, I started with x squared, diba? Oh no, 2x. I started with 2x. So what would be the integral of 2x dx kanina? That would be equal to 2 times the integral of x dx. Okay? So that would be equal to 2 times. Now, the integral of x dx is just equal, x is equal to x raised to 1, diba? So that would be x raised to 1 plus 1 because our n here is 1, right? Our n here is 1. So, you add 1 there. So, 1 plus 1, 2 over 2. Okay? Then, plus c. Pwedeng ganon. But remember, 2 times c is still c. So, therefore, we just cancel this out. So, that would be x squared plus c. So, yun yung answer natin kanina. Sorry, ito. Here. So, the integral is x squared plus c. So, ganun lang kadali. But wait, there's more. I forgot that n plus 1 should not be equal to 0, right? Kasi nag-divide tayo. So, n plus 1 should not be equal to 0. Or that means n should not be equal to 1, to negative 1. And obviously, because when n is negative 1, for example, x raised to negative 1 siya dyan, dx. So that is the same as dx over x, and we know that this is the derivative of ln. So ln na siya, pero that would be sa future discussion na natin. That is if n is equal to negative 1. But for algebraic, for general power rule, n should not be equal to negative 1. Evaluate this integral. Integral of x cubed minus x plus 4 dx. So by properties of integration, so step by step muna tayo or detailed muna tayo. We could rewrite this as the integral of x cubed dx minus the integral of 6x dx plus the integral of 4 dx. So we just applied the anong property yun? That would be this property, the third property. The integral of the sum of the function is equal to the sum of the individual integrals of the function. Okay, ayan. So to rewrite this again, that would be the integral of x cubed dx minus 6 integral of x dx, because 6 is constant, plus 4 times dx. The integral of dx, I mean, because 4 is constant. And from here, what is the integral of x cubed? That would be x, yung n natin dito is 3. So that would be x raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1. So this would be x raised to 3 plus 1 over 3 plus 1. 4. Then plus c1. But remember na yung mga c natin, eto, dito, yung individual constants of integration natin, we just combine that into a single constant of integration. So isahin lang natin yung constant of integration dito. So no need to put c1. So that would be, sunod, that's 6 times the integral of x. Remember, you answered this already kanina. So that would be x 2 plus, 1 plus 1, 2 over 1 plus 1, 2. Then plus 4 times, of course, the integral of dx, this is just x. Then you combine the constants of integration into one constant of integration c. So our answer here is x raised to 4 over 4, minus 6 over 2 is 3x squared plus 4x plus c. So this is now our answer. Okay, let's proceed to our next example. How about for problem 2, the integral of the quantity x squared plus 1, then squared, dx. So if we have this, di natin ma-apply kaagad yung general power rule. Because we have a function raised to, that would be u raised to n. Pwede. But this should be du. And we know that du, if this is u, if u is equal to x squared plus 1, du must be 2x dx. But dx lang siya dito. Wala naman tayong x or 2x dyan. So therefore, we cannot apply that. So we have no other choice but to expand this function or the integrand. Okay? So we answer this by ito. Okay, by the way, walang instruction. So lagyan natin evaluate. Ayan. Then expand muna natin. So that would be the integral of x raised to 4 plus 2x squared plus 1. Tama ba? Okay? dx. So applying what we have applied kanina, that would be equal to the integral of x raised to 4 dx plus 2 integral of x squared dx plus integral of dx. Then, mamaya sa next problem, we just drop that kasi tedious pa, ulit-ulit lang naman tong process. So, that would be equal to x raised to 5 over 5 because n is 4. So, 4 plus 1 is 5. So, that would be x raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1. So, x raised to 5 over 5 plus 2 times x cubed over 3 plus derivative of dx, of course, and no, the integral of dx is of course x. Then plus the constant of integration combined, that's still c. Okay? Then our final answer would be x raised to 5 over 5 plus 2/3 x cubed plus x plus c. Sobrang dali. Okay, how about if we have this integrand? Sorry, we have this integral. Eto. Medyo complicated na siya. May square root na tayo, then in-square siya, then dinivide siya by square root of x. So, how about if we simplify this first? Eto, di ba, as we have solved kanina, we first, may idea tayo that we need to expand this. Pero, i-divide pa siya by square root of x. So, I think in order to solve this, we first need to simplify muna yung form ng integral natin. So, that would be 1 plus square root of 3x raised to 1 half, because square root of x is x raised to 1 half. Then squared over x raised to 1 half. That would be integral of that dx. Now, we expand this first. So what is the expansion of that? That would be 1 plus, of course, by FOIL, pwede naman ganito. 1 plus square root of x, square root of 3, x raised to 1 half, then 1 plus square root of 3, x raised to 1 half, then you just do FOIL. Ayan. So that would become, eto, you just double this, so that's 2 square root of 3, x raised to 1 half, okay, plus the square of this, that would be 3x, okay, then divided by x raised to 1 half. So eto, it's clear that all these terms should be divided by this, di ba? Yun yung ibig sabihin ng expression na ito. So that would be the integral of 1 over x raised to 1 half plus 2 square root of 3 x raised to 1 half over x raised to 1 half plus, lagyan natin parenthesis na, 3x over x raised to 1 half. Then multiply all by dx. Okay? So simplify natin ulit. That would be x raised to negative 1 half. Then dito we just cancel out x raised to 1 half. So plus 2 square root of 3. Then plus this. That would be x raised to 1 over x raised to 1 half. So 1 minus 1 half. 1 minus 1 half. So that would be 1 half. So 3x raised to 1 half. Then multiply this all by dx. So ito siya, expanded form now. We can now get the integral of this. So the integral of this is just the integral of each term. So just integrate each term. So that would be x raised to negative 1 half plus 1. So that would be 1 half. So x raised to 1 half over 1 half plus, how about this? This is a constant. So the integral of this is just, remember that this is 2 square root of 3 times dx. So the integral of that, dito natin ilagay. So the integral of this is just x. So therefore, this is 2 square root of 3x. Okay? Then plus 3 times the integral of this, which is, ang n natin is 1 half. Then you just add 1. So 1 half plus 1, 1 half plus 1, that's 3 halves. So that would be x raised to 3 halves over 3 halves. Then, the constant of integration c. And just simplify 2x raised to 1 half plus 2 square root of 3x. Then, eto siya, ma-cancel out, mapalitan siya dito. So, that would be plus 2x raised to 3 halves plus c. So, if you want to be consistent, meaning kung ano yung given, ganun din yung form ng answer. So, we could rewrite this as 2 square root of x plus 2 square root of 3x, or pwede rin 2x square root of 3. Pareho din yun. Then plus 2 square root of x cubed, or that is the same as x square root of x. Ayan. Then plus c. So, that would be our answer. Okay, for our first ever assignment for this course, you need to answer these 5 problems and send your answers as soon as possible. The earlier you send, the higher is the grade.